Tonight, showers and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, still low near 68. And tomorrow, showers and storms continuing throughout the day. See an afternoon high near 84. I'm meteorologist Kyle Fletcher for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Breathe easier inside your home with Bryant. Eliminate allergens and odors and control humidity too. For a breath of fresh air, call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Attention all Wings fans. Buffalo Wings and Rings has daily specials that will make you want to stop in on all days of the week. Kids eat free on Mondays, and on Tuesdays, enjoy 40% off boneless or traditional wings at a price that makes the whole family happy. And come back on Wednesdays for $1.39 chicken tenders all day long. Get to Wings and Rings today, 68th and O, or in Williamsburg Village.
In dealing with the high interest rates, it's very important that you get as much bang for the buck. And that's what our Remington Homes is all about.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders, talking about Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier and more affordable.
People really enjoy being able to go to our website, which is remingtonlincoln.com, pick a plan, pick a price point, go through and build it yourself. You have a lot of options, whether you want granite, whether you want painted trim or other upgrades. Those are all options with our Remington Homes. People do not want to be married to their house payment. They want to get a nice house with nice finishes in a great area for an affordable price. And that's what Remington Homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
Play ball! Pitch the perfect idea for a family outing or date night with tickets to the next Salt Dogs game. Nothing says summer fun like an action-packed evening at Haymarket Park. Come root for the home team with a hot dog and a cold drink. Plus, visit saltdogs.com to learn about special events and promotions, including group discounts. Don't miss out on the thrill and excitement of a Salt Dogs win. Visit saltdogs.com to reserve your tickets today.
Now's the time to lock in the best deal of the year on a new John Deere sprayer during Landmark Implement's Sprayer Early Order Program. Leverage the industry's latest technology with See and Spray. Target weeds with precision and cut herbicide use. Utilize Exact Apply to save in chemical usage and prevent over-application. Don't forget, secure early order savings and get the sprayer that maximizes every pass. Visit your Landmark location for full details and experience the Landmark difference.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Cobble Chevrolet GMC, and the hail sale has been a huge success, but is winding down. We still, though, have several units with huge discounts. Plus, we have brand new Sierras, $14,000 off list, or starting at $37,105, or 0.9% APR on select new models. Yes, you heard right. $14,000 off or 0.9% APR on new Sierras starting at $37,105. So please check us out at cobblecars.com. All deals with roof credit, stock number G289358.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up, Austin Norman, Jay Foreman, Old School, brought to you New School Way. We are coming at you live up here from the Blur Party, Cash Street, right next to CHI Center. Old School is brought to you by the Mercado, certified Piedmontese, special ingredients of Butcher Shop, 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, 85th and Old Cheney / Andrea Madden, 168th and Maple up here in the O, a.k.a. 168th and Maple by Stricky somewhere, wherever he's at. We're live from the Blur event right here at the Hilton right next there, Hilton Omaha. Here every day, all the way through the 21st, 10 to 6. Doors open daily, 10:30 a.m. all the way to midnight. So you better be coming and have some stamina. Corner of 12th and Cass, can't miss it. Big white tent for Blur. It's about the 3rd or 4th year that we've been here. Parties on the south side of the Cass Street. This is actually the 13th annual tailgate with all-inclusive bar and buffet, which is on and popping. We got to go partake. 18 TV showing live baseball games. Multiple seating options, including a hammock. They have a cold tub / hot tub whirlpool back there. You can buy your tickets at the door. More preferably, please purchase at blurevents.com/Omaha. They got an $84 lunch and dinner buffet, soda, water, cash bar. $114 lunch, dinner buffet, soda, water, beer, wine, cash bar. $134 when you really want to splurge, or you're going to bring a date down here. Lunch, dinner buffet, soda or water, beer, wine, and mixed drinks. That's how it's going on, Austin.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We got the full shebang. Huge thanks to our friends at Blur Events for putting the party on, for inviting us to be a part of it. We always have a blast. We're in here. Yes, the temperature might still be climbing, but we got fans above us, behind us, around us. They treat us so very well. They treat all their guests the same way. We're not getting preferential treatment because we're the celebrities on radio or whatever. You walk in here, you're treated like a celebrity. Great service, great people, great food, amenities, drinks, the whole 9 yards. It is worth every penny in that stuff.
It's worth every penny. Obviously, big news, with the NCAA and their clearinghouse has allowed, the universities to eventually pay players, which I think eventually will go into effect next cycle because everybody else right now, as of, up until that ruling, are under NIL deals. And so there's probably some logistics that need to get cleared up before it starts to go into fruition. Now, it could possibly happen, and we'll see who'll be the first. But with that being said, before we jump in that, Austin, obviously Nebraska and Matt Rule and company have been very active, getting some this whole month of June, he said it, this is essentially 30 straight days. Essentially, they won't be home. They're recruiting. They're having camps. They're having official visits. They're trying to get commits. Obviously, just as we were talking on air, they got a 2026 interior lineman, and he's also joining Rex Workman, who committed, I think, either yesterday or possibly a couple days before. Hayden Ainsworth committed, not Ainsworth, Nebraska.
Nope.
So maybe a little bit of connection. Interior offensive lineman, all the way from Biloxi, Mississippi. Listen, I have family from Meridian.
Okay.
Biloxi is a little bit different. You think of that's you might get some shrimping and stuff down there, but to get somebody from the southern part of the United States to commit to the middle part of the United States, it lets you know they're turning over. I used to call it shaking trees and trying to find prospects anywhere. Big old kid, 6'3.5", 310, trying to reestablish the line of scrimmage along with Weaver. So we looked at 2025 present day football season. 2026 and 27, obviously, with Trey Taylor doing peer recruiting and continue to do that, it looks like it's paying early dividends for Matt Rule and company.
When you hear 310 pounds out of high school, does that catch your attention in a good way, or do you think some of that's bad weight that's going to have to maybe get trimmed?
Look, as hot as it is, we think it's hot right now. As hot as it is in Mississippi, I doubt it's any bad weight. And he looks like he's a pretty fit, big, young guy. And so, sure, are you as trained and detailed in your diet and weightlifting and supplements and all that in high school you would be in college? No. Also, as you mature, that will turn into lean muscle mass. And so I think the way he moves and being able to carry the weight good, I think in order to recruit right now, you have to be able to judge guys. That's why I think a lot of teams and universities that want guys to come to camp, right? See what you look like in pads, look like you when you walk through the door or whatever, and try to project where you could be. And so I think that they like the way that he carries the weight. Obviously, they could lean him up or just make that 310 pounds into 300 and, develop into, a pretty good football player. I think really, to be honest with you, as you're recruiting now, is trying to project where they could be, but then also you have to have a good eye for talent on what fits for you. The hardest thing that I think that Nebraska faces is the uptick in talent here, state-wise, versus what you're going to do outside of the state. And Matt Rule told you, look, his job is to win. So you got to stand on business. And there's good players everywhere. I think the greatest thing that's happened in the state of Nebraska is the Steve Warrens and the Warren Academy is really taking some talent that's always been here out on a national level. Now, what it does is it puts a spotlight on Nebraska. It's a good problem. And, look, I think Matt Rule and those guys are working hard and, identifying talent that they like. They have a process that they go through. They're sticking to it. And that's what my grandma used to say something when people used to never, recognize where they came from or whatever.
Forget your roots.
Yeah, forget your roots. And it's a Bible verse, how soon they forget. You know that, Austin, right? So what I mean by this is, up until recent, whether it's 1, 2, 3 staffs ago, you always felt like, the staffs didn't have a plan on who they recruited, why they transferred portal guy, why they passed on guys, where now you have a coach that is actually, has a plan, and the only time will tell whether it works, and he's sticking to it. Now you're still complaining. I always tell like this, like basketball players, you worry about playing time. Stop complaining and start playing. And so, for the fans out there, you just got to appreciate that he's actually out there trying to work.
When you mentioned that piece about recruiting, right, whether it's out of high school or out of the transfer portal, the part I want to touch on first to get to my point is, can you identify what Nebraska has wanted to do in the run game over the last few years? Has Nebraska been a team with a plan for how it wants to run the ball, or has Nebraska just been calling run plays because that's what it feels like it should do?
I think they want to be physical. I think obviously you look at like the linemen, look, you could get a 5-star no-brainer, and he gets in competition and he can't bust a grape. Or you could get a guy that's a 2-star from who knows where, Idaho or Nebraska, and he can eat glass, and he's tough, and he's a leader, and he's athletic, and all that stuff. So I think that in theory, or in what I'm assuming and what I've seen is that the first year I think Nebraska was trying to piece some things together, and obviously it was curtailed around Jeff Sims and whatever, so forth and so on. But you saw him try to run the ball. You saw a little bit of glimpse of Emmett and obviously Grant and all that, and it was really a year for Grant to adapt to some sort of more accountability. Well, you saw, I think they ideally would like to control the line of scrimmage, obviously be efficient, and then off the efficiency, be more explosive in the pass game. Mm-hmm. And, that's what they tried to do last year. But I think obviously when you bring in Dana Holgerson, who runs the ball more than people give him credit for, that's where you see the emergence of Emmett Johnson, you see a Quentin Ives, and then you see my man 35, who, as long as he keeps everything on the up and up outside of football, he'll be good. And so, I think they know that they can run the ball efficiently in the way they want to run the ball. And as long as they can do that, and obviously it's either set up or it sets up the controlled passing game, and then try to add some more explosiveness on the outside in the kind of like the Ja'Cory Barney. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the old San Francisco 49ers back in the day. They ran the ball good enough that when they can line up, they can punch you in the mouth and, close the game out or extend the lead or essentially bleed you to death. That's what they're trying to shoot for, because Matt Rule knows more games were lost here with the inability to run the ball, lining up 3rd and 1, 2, 3, and possibly a short 4, and then the play action or whatever you want to do off of that, and playing situational football. So you got to line up and punch people in the face.
And that's why I asked the question, too, is because Nebraska has gotten away from that. Whether or not they actually want to be it is on the team to show, hey, we're about this. We're going to stick to it. We're going to commit to it. Recruiting is not easy. Never has been, never will be, right? I mean, almost regardless of who or where you are as a program. But I think Nebraska could make recruiting simpler for itself by identifying the traits, the movement skills of players at different positions. That's not to say, you get so typecast. You only get guys that do X, Y, or Z, right? You got to take good football players. But I think, whether it's Nebraska football, Nebraska men's basketball, Nebraska baseball, it's okay to have an identity. It's okay to have a type that other teams, typically overlook. But that what you do, that body type, that skill set works in what you do. Again, you still got to get them to campus. It's not easy. But I think when you just cast a wide net and you don't really know what you're looking for, there's that either sometimes too much of one talent or not enough of a different type of talent, where casting a net is not a plan. That's the bare minimum. I don't know, what Nebraska's recruiting operation entails, But maybe, now with Coach Dana Holgorsen in place, they know the types of prospects that they want and can go get, and now can actually follow through on getting them, and it makes sense in the context of what Nebraska wants to accomplish.
Yeah, well, I think especially on offense and defense. Well, I think I'm going to take the stance that Dana Holgorsen has been coaching a long time. Different types of body types, different types of players, and maybe in some ways, especially at West Virginia, and in some ways in Houston, did more with less, right? And and that's also when you're able to adapt your kind of philosophy offense based on what you got, and not just be so stuck into when Bill Callahan came in and you had option players, but we're going to run West Coast, knowing dang well they couldn't do it. Then on the flip side, I think with Coach Butler, and I know personally just because I'm a former Buffalo Bill and what he's able to do, and when you have to deal with, you're only allowed at maybe a draft pick a year. Then you're essentially mid-level free agents and street free agents as far as the rookie comes in. You have to develop them. So you got to make a Wallace, who's number 39, who was a free agent, into a pretty good starting corner, and then obviously develop him, and then he's able to go on a second contract somewhere else. You're either going to take a Tre'Davious White to make him into a Pro Bowler and see that maturation process. So you're different with all different body types. And what I mean is when you have two coordinators with that vast experience, it helps to be able to move what the curve is, because college football will constantly change based on hiring practices at other universities, the way that, college football is, I guess, officiated or looked at upon what's successful will change in the Big Ten over the next 2-3 years. And so I think the uptick in veteran coaches that know what they want to do, and I know Marcus Satterfield has been around, but I'm just talking about Dana Holgorsen has ran a program at two different places that you had to make a lot out of nothing. And this is no disrespect to any of the players that have played at those two universities, but you're not at Florida, you're not at Florida State, you're not at Miami or Oklahoma, Notre Dame and those type of places, and you're still able to be successful. So, I think what they need to, what they have to do and continue to do is just, be confident in their recruiting and in their evaluation process, and then also be willing and open to make some concessions, because I think more than anything, yes, you need speed, and I think nobody's getting a letter from Nebraska that doesn't fit a potential height, weight, speed type, right? We need football players. A football player isn't a guy that likes the sweatsuit and steaks, a guy that loves football, loves to compete, because that is what we're talking about. Desmond Bain, those are the guys that you need to come in and multiply. I guess that make it easy. We need multipliers. Yeah. We need guys that go in the locker room. It doesn't matter the age range. It could be coming in as 26 next year, obviously, because 25s are here, 25, 26, 27, portal guys that are going to come in and multiply their standard, their excellence, their personality into all these different players, and then they start to multiply in it. And so, it's kind of the chicken and egg. You just got to go get a whole bunch of great players and hope they all kind of, get it going. Well, we saw that this year where Florida State had probably one of the better transfer portal classes. There was a catastrophic for them. So that's where I think we need some football players, and then you mix in some of the athletes, and you can take some, risks on guys. And then I think Matt Rule does a good job of essentially throwing the ball out there and see who gets it first, and you continue to work hard and do whatever you need to do. It doesn't matter where you come from, what age group you're at, or what you think you've been promised. If you can play football, he when he sits in front of a recruit, he says, listen, if you come in from Biloxi, Mississippi, and you show me that you're the best dude and physically and mentally that you can handle it, you're going to be running out of the tunnel first, or you're going to be the guy that's run out there first. And so for that, when you're trying to build a program, to be able to stand on your word is also a big part of the recruiting process, but also the development process.
You mentioned football players. Are there any guys that come to mind that stick out to you as, that guy's a football player?
That I played with?
Like on this Nebraska team. Those guys
I always like Van Poppel. I like the transfer coming in, I think, from was it North Alabama?
Rocco Spindler.
Rocco Spindler. But then also the North Alabama, the linebacker that came in.
Georgia Southern.
Georgia Southern. Yeah. I call him the law firm anytime you got a hyphenated name. And so I like him. He's a football player. I like those guys. I like Buford because I think he's a jack of all trades. I like a lot of the guys that are just football players because they've had to do
Singleton fit in there?
Singleton. I like the guys now. Now you need them to gel, right? Now you need the Judys of the world to really take a big step. Now you need Latofsky. You show glimpses of being potentially a pretty good player. Now we need it for 12 games in a row, and then obviously hopefully into some championship series. And then, I know Emmett's from Minnesota, but I like it that he's a football player. Look, he's had to scratch and claw his way up and onto the team. And potentially when Matt Rule came, that he was kind of afterthought. Well, he's played his way on there, last year or the first year. Then he was able to, stick with it and show that his value when you have a new offensive coordinator when it's a pressure, where a lot of guys have one foot out the door. We've seen it. As soon as they touched down from Iowa City, guys were jumping in the portal. Where he stayed down, we call it 10 toes down, and he's able to show that he's a football player. Now that you need all those guys that I mentioned, right? Especially Hartzog, too, in the defensive backfield, right? You got some guys there that have played corner, they played nickel, they played safety, they played through injuries, they've been through different coaching staffs. So all those guys now got to come together, right? And this is what you do in the middle of June, because in about 6 weeks, they open up camp. There is no more – silly season should be over, but it will be officially over once you report to. I'm assuming they're going to the dorms again, and rough it up a little bit. That's where you're going to really get to that, through that threshold, right? It should be relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but relatively smooth to get to 8 wins. Now to go from 8 to 10, and then past 12. 12th game into some big time games. The stuff that I talked about has to be fostered every single day. Has had to be fostered every single day, because when you get down to it, you're going to face some challenges. You're not going to blow through 12 games and go to a 12-team playoffs and moonwalk into the national championship game.
Ohio State sure didn't.
You're going to have to go and take it. You're going to have to deal with adversity, and that's what they're trying to train and get these guys to start to welcome. And then also embrace through the hot days of June and July.
That's where we're at right now. I mean, it is mid-June, which means it's football season, right? I mean, I'm saying it's baseball season, right? Still got NBA Finals going on. I know for people of your persuasion, it's absolutely football season right now. It is interesting you bring up Malcolm Hartzog. That's a guy that I thought of when you said football player.
Yeah.
You can move him all around the defense if you have to, but I don't think that's ideal for him, right? Bouncing back and forth between corner and safety. I still maintain that Malcolm Hartzog has not had a chance to thrive at his best position, which would be kind of that nickel or slot corner.
Yeah.
Nebraska hasn't used him there, and I'm going to say that's due to a lack of depth, lack of proven options that they could throw out there, right? You think about, if Jeremiah Charles had come on strong last year, been able to lock down an outside corner spot.
Yeah, he doesn't have to move outside.
Tommy Hill went down, right? Yeah. Hartzog can either stick at safety or he can stay on the inside as a slot corner. Pretty good blitzer, all things considered. He'll stick his hat in there against the run as well. But we also haven't seen Malcolm Hartzog on return, something he was, I think, all
that's what he was mainly.
I
think we're recruited for.
Yeah,
and
we haven't seen it.
And so you're 100% right. But then also I think when you're so versatile and you're a football player, you're the first one to raise your hand to go into the game. I always look at
it's a blessing and a curse.
It's a blessing and a curse. And ideally, you would like to have every guy at one position. That's not how you win. So, you'd like to think that Hartzog is going to be able – they have more depth in the back end, right? So you'd like to think that Jeremiah Charles and everybody else that they brought in through the transfer portal and freshmen a year to mature is going to take off the pressure when you need a guy to step in. But
I think you can make him a C player at any given position on any given play.
Right.
In the sense, there will be worse options than him. There will also be better options than him. But the fact that you can move him around doesn't mean you should, right? He's not the level of an Isaiah Simmons.
Sure, because he doesn't have the size.
Jabril Peppers,
right? Yeah,
right. Guys like that who can credibly play safety,
linebacker,
safety
outside
linebacker,
corner,
passer, right? It's great that Hartzog can move around, but that should be in case of emergency.
Yeah,
which it's got to be been from time to time.
It's got to be DEFCON 1.
Yeah,
yeah. But I also think that for him. If he can settle in on, say, one or two positions, obviously on the, the second or say second level, third level, whatever you want to call it, that allows Coach Butler to erase all the inexperience of potentially now of other guys that hadn't played before, right? You got Shavers and all those guys that have showed glimpses, but being the guy going out there, it's a process. Then also being the guys that go out there and playing together. But when you have a guy that has tremendous amount of experience and flexibility, you can scheme up things because you can trust him. And so that's going to be the maturation process of all the guys along on offense as well. You got a lot of weapons. How do you get continuity going on? How do you get in the rhythm? How do you have your plan A, plan B, and I always say one in the back pocket, C or D, to figure out when you get into a game, people are adjusting to you. and when you're playing like opponents, then you got to have that ability to go to the next level, and hopefully they're developing that right now.
I'm glad you bring that up on offense, too, because I think of a guy like Ja'Cory Barney Jr., kind of in that same mold, or back in the day, a Wandale Robinson type of player, right? You can be a good option at a bunch of positions, but I think there are some positions, Jay, where I would rather see Nebraska just let a young guy figure it out on the fly and keep their best players at their best position, right? Like Ja'Cory Barney, yes, he can play outside, but why would you rather not, keep him inside to start in the alignment and then scheme something up for him to get him outside, right? Because he's not at his best lined up one-on-one on the outside. He can do it, but it's not his best skill. So, maybe, Dane Key and Cortez Mills, right? Or Isaiah Mosey, whoever it is, and Isaiah Hunter in that conversation as well. Dane Key might be Nebraska's best X and might be their best Y.
Yeah.
If there's a guy that you see, this is going to be an X receiver for us for the next couple of years, sure, you might trust Dane Key at X, number one more, but I would almost rather know what you're getting out of Dane Key at Y and let the young guy, grow into that, as opposed to moving a young guy all the way around the field and not getting comfortable with his role and responsibility.
Yeah, I think it's on a year-by-year basis, case-by-case basis, but I think, what you're saying is you like Barney matched up against a Jay Foreman type in the slot, or if you're able to flip the formation and then motion him out there, then you got Jay Foreman one-on-one out there on the outside.
And I'm throwing the other way because I'm not testing Jay Foreman. I know better than that.
Listen, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, they made a lot of plays on me. But I think also it's also part of the deal where, they have a lot more depth. You just mentioned about 5 receivers there, and a couple of them are freshmen, in Mims and Mosey. And then you got Hunter, and then you got Dane Key. Then you got Barney. Then you got Bonner. And then you got
Clark.
And then you got you could throw Emmett Johnson out there. So when you're trying to manufacture a run game, the biggest thing we have to do, we got to be able to play pitch and catch. We got to be able to line up and punch people in the face. We got to don't punch ourselves in the face. And then we got to have a game plan. There might be a game where Dylan has to throw for 350. There might be a game where he has to throw for 150. The object is this. It has to be, like I said, you're going to play individually, think collectively. But when you win more, you get more fruits of your labor and more things come your way as a team, both individually and collectively. And so once that mindset is adopted, and you have to have that mindset in the most crucial time. It's easy to do it, Austin, excuse me, when you're up by – everything's great when you're up by a couple scores. The team barely has a pulse. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we going to do if we down by 7? What are we going to do when we're down by 10? That's what we have to do. What
are we going to do? Tie game 4 minutes.
Tie game. You're right. We got to make the play that we need to make. We don't have to go make a play. We got to make the play that the defense called for, and what our athletic ability and our experience and our film work and our, obviously, continuity allows us to do. And by doing that, it's not going to be in the spur of the moment thing. It's come from talking about it on June 16th while you're hanging out. And maybe you had a little bit of confusion in a walkthrough or whatever they got going on right now, because you have to draw back on that, meaning me and you, in order to make that play with 4 minutes left to seal the deal. That makes the sacrifice worth it, right?
That's the fun,
right?
Winning the damn game.
Yeah. Look, if you're having fun losing, then you were the first class loser. I only like to win. And so, you really got to exhibit those habits, moving forward. And I know that they say that kids are different. They have a different DNA and different blood and all that other stuff. I really don't think so. I think you got to captivate their mind and their attention in a different way, and obviously show them actually intangible what could come to them versus when we were growing up. You just had to tell us. You have to show them. I can show you Ohio State winning a national championship and really exceeding expectation. Probably got Will Howard an opportunity that he might not normally have gotten. It probably got a lot of guys that they played with, and probably Nebraska got on the bus thinking like, okay, they're all right, right? I'm just as good as that guy. Drafted.
Yeah.
What? By a national championship. Indiana. Now NFL scouts are going to look at them and see what they're doing. It starts with winning. I'm telling you. If you think that you're going to be Brett Favre and just essentially go, and not saying that he was a loser, but you got to think, Brett Favre got his kind of stardom and cachet to potentially be a first-round pick based off Southern Miss upset in Alabama.
Right.
What is that? Right. Winning. And so everything starts with winning. But what we're doing, we're winning at this thing called radio up here at Blur. We're going to take a quick break, come back. Austin Norman, Jay Foreman, Old School and New School Way. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Load up on meat and more this summer at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This week's specials through June 24th are $1 off ground beef, 15% off on aprons, 15% off Cornhead beer, and buy one, get one 50% off on brats and hot dogs, limit 2. Plus, stop by for lunch on Fired Up Thursday at the Mercado East or Fired Up Friday at the Mercado North. Locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney and Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Your sprinklers are watering the street or flooding your backyard. If you're on a list that doesn't exist, it's time for Judson Irrigation. At Judson Irrigation, Lee or Lacey or Judson will make an appointment. You pick a time and they'll be there to fix your sprinkler system. Now that's service, a dying art these days.
Keep summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Are kids better off in an intact family? You bet they are. This is Joe Cordell of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. Kids living in a household with married parents do better in school, they're emotionally healthier, and they're more likely to stay out of trouble with the law. If you're in a troubled marriage, of course you should do everything you can to save your marriage, if only for your kids' sake. This includes considering alternatives to divorce. Of course, in some circumstances, divorce is unavoidable. In either case, if you're a man facing a crisis in your marriage, let us help you at Cordell & Cordell. Remember, we're the partner men can count on.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men maximize their role in their children's lives. Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Lincoln area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Office in downtown Lincoln, Cordell & Cordell, 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68508.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red.
Play ball! Pitch the perfect idea for a family outing or date night with tickets to the next Salt Dogs game. Nothing says summer fun like an action-packed evening at Haymarket Park. Come root for the home team with a hot dog and a cold drink. Plus, visit saltdogs.com to learn about special events and promotions, including group discounts. Don't miss out on the thrill and excitement of a Salt Dogs win. Visit saltdogs.com to reserve your tickets today.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today will see mainly sunny skies. Be breezy and hot with an afternoon high near 94. Tonight, showers and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, still low near 68. And tomorrow, showers and storms continuing throughout the day. See an afternoon high near 84. I'm meteorologist Kyle Fletcher for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Breathe easier inside your home with Bryant. Eliminate allergens and odors and control humidity too. For a breath of fresh air, call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Hi, my name is Molly Party. I'm a realtor with MP Dodge Real Estate. I'm a newly licensed agent and considered numerous brokerages before deciding on MP Dodge. I chose the company that gives me the most support in my new career, plus guidance and encouragement along the way. MP Dodge has a unique mentoring program for new agents. It's helped jumpstart my career and has a supportive management team and administrative staff. So if you're contemplating a career in real estate, look no further than MP Dodge. It will be the best decision you make.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 12th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let Blur Events take care of all the work so you can enjoy the day. Plus, we're just steps away from Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
Now's the time to lock in the best deal of the year on a new John Deere sprayer during Landmark Implement's Sprayer Early Order Program. Leverage the industry's latest technology with See and Spray. Target weeds with precision and cut herbicide use. Utilize Exact Apply to save in chemical usage and prevent over-application. Don't forget, secure early order savings and get the sprayer that maximizes every pass. Visit your Landmark location for full details and experience the Landmark difference.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
My parents live by the Highlands course. I know about it. Yeah.
Well, we're back. Jay Foreman, Austin Norman. We are again live here at the Blur Tailgate by the Hilton in Omaha. It's open every day. We're up here from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Doors are open from 10:30 to midnight, all the way to the 21st. 18 TV showing live baseball, all-inclusive bar and buffet, multiple seating options, including a hammock. blurevents.com/Omaha. You can buy tickets at the door, so they will not turn you away. Anywhere from $84 to $134. You'll get the lunch buffet. Depending on how much more you spend, you'll get beer, wine, and mixed drinks. What's mixing here, Austin, is the university.
Joe Mixon?
Joe Mixon.
What Mixon here?
Yeah. You know, with Bradley Chubb signing with the Texans and all that stuff. But really what's mixing is the universities are able to pay players. And it's a great option for these young men to go out here and make some money. We just talked about a couple of the commits that's going to be coming Nebraska's way about this time next year. I think they move in generally the beginning of June. So I think it's one of those things that we'll see how it goes. I think it's great initially. I think it's going to hurt some Olympic sports, a lot of Olympic sports. I think the teams that are investing in something like baseball, right, where every school is not as invested as a LSU, Arkansas, all the teams, Vanderbilt and all that, you'll see a drastic change in their recruiting in football because they are baseball schools. They are basketball schools, right? We think about the Big East, not much into football.
Yeah.
And then you think of there is volleyball schools like Nebraska and the cost sharing. All that stuff is great, but then also really what's going to happen, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Olympic sports that you still have to be competitive in. Do they go to club? Do you just only keep them on scholarships with a very, very small portion of your collectives going there? That's how you make up the difference. Also, they have a clearinghouse. So any NIL deal over $600 has to be approved, and that's really going to be interesting to see what deals and what types of players are getting deals turned away, because ultimately it's a free for all and everybody wants to get paid. And so, I think making this decision now with everything obviously predicated around NIL that's already been signed, it gives them a year to kind of run some tests and some players that maybe you choose to re-sign to be under contract and run some tests to see how it really works. But ultimately, I think this in the next 3 to 5 years, this has to work. This has to work or the bubble's going to bust, and then you're going to have to hit the reset button.
Which we already just did, right? I mean, this is a reset for college sports in a lot of ways. It's not going to be a clean transition. It's not going to be smooth. There are going to be problems. But, Jay, I am so fascinated to see which athletic departments handle this well and which ones don't, right? I mean, I think about the Directors' Cup, right? People know a little bit about, but not a whole lot about. There's no prize for it. You just get a trophy.
Yeah.
It's a mark of, how well did all of your teams do, essentially, get points for winning championships, qualifying for postseasons and whatnot. And it's a pretty big deal, right? Nebraska's finished, I think, higher this year than it has in a long time, if not ever. And I think that it's going to be very important, too, for the health of other sports. Number one, will they continue at the collegiate level? Or, Jay, do we see more and more of these programs get outsourced to clubs?
Yeah.
Outside of essentially university control, where you can still be an athlete, or enrolled as a student at this university.
Right, but then you can, I think right away for track and field. Will you see people running from Puma and Nike and getting paid that way, which they had to wait till after winning? Do they invest into kind of the farm system? Because the Olympics and all the obviously big track events and all that stuff is used college as a fostering ground for it. And while they immensely or shortly were starting to get paid.
Well, I think too of the European model, where the prep sports aren't tied to the school.
Right.
It's its own thing. You're with your club. It's through a town, right, developmentally, and that's where I think Lincoln would be a perfect place for more of that European style model.
Yeah.
Where it's great that so much is through the university. I'm not knocking them for their hustle or anything. But a town like Lincoln that rallies around its people, that supports its own, I think it's the perfect size and the perfect setup to support that. Where you go to school at Nebraska for your degree, right, but the prep sports are run outside of that.
Right.
Even football, basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, you can keep with the university. But I think with what you can draw to Nebraska, it would be a perfect sort of test run to be, we want to sponsor these programs. You deserve funding. You deserve attention that we don't feel like we can give to you right now. But then I'm going to turn right around and say it's kind of a cop-out.
Yeah.
I get that the $20.5 million is what was put in place. I'm curious to see how long that number, or the 22% of the average,
it's going to get to 50%
budget,
on paper, but in reality, it's still going to be 25%.
But even if 25% goes to football, these other student athletes deserve funding too. If we're going to run it through the university system, sure, football that brings in a lot of money is going to be a focus. Basketball, sure. But if this is the way it's structured, that we're going to be doing so much through colleges, I do hope we get to a point where it's more than just the 22%, because there is money around to support all of these programs financially. Sure, you might not make back a lot of money with all of them. That's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see college sports continue to be run like a business, because I still think college needs to be that middle ground between high school and the pros. It just hasn't been that way. It's leaning more and more toward the professional side.
Right.
And I get it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, you don't love it, but the reality is, Austin, I'll push back on it. Like, college football is professional. The NFL and all the major league, they're all entertainment, right? We're talking about it. We're talking about hitting home runs and McCovey Cove and all that stuff, right? Big trades that normally wouldn't happen. I think what you can do, and I do believe that you can find some money that you could keep every sport under the same roof. Now, you got to be willing to take a little bit less, because football really, they turn to keep the lights on and they stir the pot.
But I think it's less about that and more about how are you spending the money you have.
Right.
If you're telling me that you can't sponsor every varsity sport at Nebraska for what you bring in football, media rights, revenue, that's crazy. Maybe you'll have to cut back on facilities.
Right. I think
you'll have to cut back and not hire as many administrators. But there is money there. Are you willing to use it on these other programs? That's the question.
Right. That is the question. But then also it becomes then you have to get collectives in there. Then do you have donor, fatigue? You can do it, but then the other sports are going to have to be willing to be, have your roster set, whatever sport, like basketball, say you got 14 scholarships instead of like 9, whatever they had to kind of stretch it. You got to be okay with that. And then you got to find a way and avenues for them to grow their brand outside of, football or outside of basketball or whatever sport that may be, but then also make it beneficial for them to come here and be under scholarship, because they can see something down past their NBA or professional career is done. Nebraska's done that. Now, how also you do that? Now, if I'm Nebraska, right, say basketball and football and maybe volleyball, because I think Nebraska, the state of Nebraska, is the mecca of women's volleyball. I'm partnered with some local schools, local colleges, and that's where we're really going to do our development. We don't need you to go somewhere else. We don't need you to go to FCS and come here.
Right.
Go play for Coach Orman and Coach Foreman at whatever school, and you're going to get developed. Now, you're going to have to pay the coaches, and you won't see immediate return. But you invest in it, you will make it back tenfold. I always say like this, and I said this on Inside the Huddle Sundays at 8 a.m. Once you find a way to be, I would say, I look at it like this. This whole thing is, it's a 4x1 relay. Okay, some schools got out the gates faster. We've made some up. We've kind of gained ground, and we're just maybe a little bit smidge in the first handoff and relay. Now you know what this is. Now we feel like now we're even. Now we got to find a way to gain the advantage. Now we got to win this race in the second and the third leg. And then we got to use everything around it, putting on events, the Big Red Project, Go Big Project, being able to be here when you're 40, 50 years old. We can win the last leg. We got to win the second, third leg.
And I think you said a really interesting word, invest.
Yeah.
If you put money into a losing program, you are spending. If you put money into a winning program, you are investing.
Right.
Maybe not investing in order to see a bunch of money come back. Obviously, that's ideal, right? That's why you invest money, to see it grow down the road. But maybe an investment in a quote-unquote non-revenue program is actually investment in the next generation, right? You know, this is helping our athletic department maintain a healthy culture. It's helping us, you know, bring more students in the door, whether they're paying for a scholarship or not. It's going to help us down the road. Now, if you're sinking money into a program that's at the bottom of the Big Ten Conference every time,
well, then
that's spending. Either get better or cut it.
Right.
But if you have a winning program, you're not spending money,
but
you're investing it.
But investing is also not sitting there and minimizing somebody. Like, if I'm paying you $100, then you shouldn't have to outperform the guy that's getting paid $10,000, right?
Right.
And also, I'd say, look, I don't know what softball generally had a good following and good output. But let me tell you something. Investing in Nebraska softball is probably part of the reason we're able to get a superstar player like Jordy Ball back. Yeah. We just got the commitment from her former teammate today. If you don't think it didn't pay dividend, it paid dividends immediately with Jordy Ball, but that was a couple years in fruition. She won national championships, dealt with stuff. I'm coming back home. I see the process. That's an investment, right? So that, and then also it means Coach Rhonda Lavelle had to make an inroads, even though you finished a close second. Now we're here. Oh, you don't think that Jordy Ball doesn't talk to her former teammate via phone or via text or whatever? Here she comes. Now that's the investment. Then you have to invest in some other players and coaches that either are on the roster or former players to create the culture. Because if I'm trying to sell Austin Orman from Biloxi, Mississippi, and I'm from, say, Meridian, Mississippi, we're both from the same thing. So we know what Mississippi's like. Well, this is how I was able to come here, strive, and then create a long legacy out here. This is what you can do, and I got your back. You have to invest in it. And it's only because of where Nebraska's at. I think Nebraska is starting to create winning habits and cultures and things that they need to do. Now you have to win that second and a half leg. You're even in the second leg. Now we got to turn on the Jets, and we got to have a phenomenal handoff of the baton to the third leg, and then that's where we really be in front of the curve, right? Because I felt like a couple staffs, prior were always behind the curve.
Yeah.
Right? Really didn't see the future, and so now the future is here. Now we know this is where we're going to be, and I would say that at a 3 to 5 year period, we got to maximize it, but then not also just maximize it and doing what everybody else is doing, maximizing it our way, because our way, along with all the stuff that is the closing leg, right, essentially Usain Bolt, is better than 98% of in the nation. So that's our closer.
Yeah.
So now it's like, even now we're watching baseball. Okay, let's just get it to Rivera. Enter Sandman coming out there. Right. Shut the lights off. Good night. God bless. Go home. We just got to get there. Our middle relief, or whatever analogy you want to do, has to be good. But ultimately, how we operate on a day-to-day basis is also part of that as well.
And I think that the last point I have on this is investing and focusing on the present where it's important to win, but also looking ahead to the future, right? Not being behind the curve of the next thing, right? You can be ahead of the curve. You can try something that doesn't work in your current era. And I'm not saying Nebraska needs to just, slow down, tap on the brakes and say, well, we're just going to sit back and wait. No, you still got to be go-getters, try to get back out in front. But I feel confident saying this is not going to be the last era of college athletics.
No.
Right? So maybe, Nebraska goes all in on a sport or two now. But I think it would be short-sighted for Nebraska to say, well, this isn't a priority now. This isn't what's beneficial for college sports now. So we're going to scrap X, Y, and Z, or we're going to start doing X, Y, and Z. You got to do it maybe in some cases to stay competitive and up on the cutting edge in the moment.
Right.
But you also can't sacrifice that 10, 15, even 25-year vision of where could this be going? How do we prepare for this outcome versus that outcome?
You never know when a Jordy Ball or a local talent is watching. They're right now in grade school and middle school. So how you go about business, how you treat present-day players, how you treat former players, it pays dividends, man. I'm just telling you, it does. It's like a cycle. It does. It's just like when we talk about high school basketball.
Yep.
Eventually, all the good players are going to be in Lincoln. Then it's going to be like real scarce, and then it's going to be a little bit in between. So you got to make sure that you're ready for it. Then also, more importantly, I think you need to be ahead of the curve. And like you said, you got to plan 5-10 years down the road, even if you're not going to be here.
Right.
Because you're usually judged on the legacy that you live or that you set while you're present, while you're somewhere else, or you choose to retire. But what we're going to do is we're going to retire for this segment, come back and put a bow on this bad boy. Once again, we are here, up here at the Hilton Omaha, live at Blur. Jay Foreman, Austin Orman, Old School, the New School way. We'll be right back.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
In dealing with the high interest rates, it's very important that you get as much bang for the buck. And that's what our Remington Homes is all about.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders talking about Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier and more affordable.
People really enjoy being able to go to our website, which is remingtonlincoln.com, pick a plan, pick a price point, go through and build it yourself. You have a lot of options, whether you want granite, whether you want painted trim or other upgrades. Those are all options with our Remington Homes. People do not want to be married to their house payment. They want to get a nice house with nice finishes in a great area for an affordable price. And that's what Remington Homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
Breathe easier inside your home with Bryant. Eliminate allergens and odors and control humidity too. For a breath of fresh air, call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in temperature-controlled high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars. That's Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see mainly sunny skies. Be breezy and hot with an afternoon high near 94. Tonight, showers and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, still low near 68. And tomorrow, showers and storms continuing throughout the day. An afternoon high near 84. I'm meteorologist Kyle Fletcher for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what? I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available, and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, Apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Cobble Chevrolet GMC, and the hail sale has been a huge success, but is winding down. We still though have several units with huge discounts. Plus, we have brand new Sierras, $14,000 off list, or starting at $37,105, or 0.9% APR on select new models. Yes, you heard right. $14,000 off or 0.9% APR on new Sierras starting at $37,105. So please check us out at cobblecars.com. All deals with roof credit, stock number G289358.
If you're a veteran, our nation has created a wide range of benefits to thank you for your service. But it can be difficult to navigate the process of determining eligibility, filing claims, appealing decisions, and securing the benefits you've earned. Speak to your county veteran service officer or the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs State Service Office to see what's available to you and your family. These services are 100% free. So visit veterans.nebraska.gov today. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up, Austin? Jay Foreman, Austin Orman back. Old School, New School way. Quick segment here before we turn it over. But we are a few minutes away from LSU, essentially a home away from home. It's like a solar eclipse when they don't make it. Now they're here. They definitely came with their own theme music as they were playing it. So, the local rapper made a song for them, and then they got the big tiger, parading around here up and down, and that's what makes it so special with the College World Series, and Arkansas is here and other teams like that. But then also we got Game 5 tonight. We see the Pacers and the Thunder warming up, and obviously there's a lot of anxiety going on, and obviously the Pacers are wanting to rewrite the wrong because they feel like they let one get away, and so they got to do it in a tough place to play. A team that's probably energized. That both teams should look at it as like a 3-game series because it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter where you play now. There is no excuses, no fair dodging. If you ask yourself, both teams in training camp, the dog days of the minimal training camp that they have, would they like to be 3 games away, potentially 3 games away, or two wins away from an NBA championship, 2-2 at this point in time, June 16th? Everybody would say, I'm all in. So we're going to see what happens tonight. What are your thoughts on this game?
I really think it's going to be interesting to see the defensive approaches from both of these teams. What Indiana has been able to do in limiting Oklahoma City's ability to move the ball has been pretty impressive. 3 of the 15 games where Oklahoma City has thrown the fewest passes have come against Indiana. Not who you think of as a defensive juggernaut. They've been so locked in, so communicative on that end. Yeah. And I think that for Indiana, the way to go is just let SGA go off. Yeah. I think back to a couple of years ago in the college basketball national championship game where UConn said, okay, Zach Edey, you can get yours. He had a good statistical game.
And showed that he could play. But they never was going to win.
Right. They weren't, because UConn was deeper. They moved the ball better. They had more options. And they completely limited Foster Loyer and especially Braden Smith. Didn't let him get going. I think that's going to be the strategy for Indiana, because if you can make Shea go for 38 on 30 shots, that's plays in your hands. He'll wear down. He'll turn the ball over a little bit. At least he has been this series. And you would say the same maybe for Oklahoma City, right? With a team like Indiana that revolves so much around Tyrese Halliburton and his playmaking to try to get others going, except that it's almost harder to do because Tyrese Halliburton is okay taking a back seat.
Right.
So maybe Tyrese Halliburton is the guy that you let go off, but because of how well Indiana moves without the basketball,
right.
They're not calling a lot on the ball. Off the ball, though, they're still watching.
Yeah.
So if you're being physical off the ball, they're not going to be afraid to blow the whistle.
Yeah.
So I think Indiana's in maybe a little more advantageous position just with the style of play. And I'm just curious to see if OKC goes back to what works with the double bigs or if they keep tinkering with their lineup.
Yeah, it's going to come down to adjustments, and the last 24, 48 hours is going to be huge. And obviously, it's a pivotal game in the series. And I think also you're trying to, as far as Indiana, the Pacers defensively, you're trying to get them to do something that they've been taught not to do since they've been in like fourth grade and play team defense and all that. But ultimately, sometimes you got to make a sacrifice and be okay with it. And then also you have to find somebody that's willing to be that teammate to say, you know what, I can check you. I'll be okay with him scoring 30 on me. I might be okay with him scoring 40 on me. But I got to make it hard for him. And then that person, kind of like we're talking, we see hockey, they're going to have a pivotal game here at 5 tomorrow. Those are the players, and we talk about making winning football plays. It's the equivalent of me as a linebacker taking on a fullback, knocking off a lineman. You get the tackle for loss. Everybody's screaming Austin's name. But inside the film room, that play was made by Jay Foreman. So whoever makes those game-winning plays tonight is going to come out with a leg up or one win closer to being an NBA champion. But what we are is the champion of old school. Appreciate you guys listening once again. We'll be back tomorrow and Wednesday, all the way to 6 p.m. both days. Jay Foreman, Austin Orman, old school, the new school way. We'll holler at you tomorrow.
.93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see mainly sunny skies. Be breezy and hot with an afternoon high near 94. Tonight, showers and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, still low near 68. And some mild showers and storms continuing throughout the day. See an afternoon